David Cameron must explain to the European citizens, not only to the British one, how to solve the problem we have, more Europe, also adopted by himself on the basis of the Agenda 2020, on the External Action Service, on international engagement of the European Union for development and aid with less European money. So if he is prepared to tell us how to solve the miracle, he is welcomed.
His argument is that the UK is going through a severe austerity plan. It's not the only European country to do so, and that a rise of 6% in the European Union's budget is basically not something that the member states can afford at this stage. Do you see that differently?
Completely.
Why?
How? I see it completely different by three reasons. First of all, the European budget is not to compare with national budget. The European Union has no own resources. We have no European taxes. We have no own money. It is money coming from the member states. We can make no debts. There is no sovereign debt of the European Union, and that's the big difference between the European budget and the British budget. The British budget must be reduced because there is enormous debt. Europe has no debts. That's the first point. Second point, we have an external action service, 7,000 civil servants more for the international diplomacy, wished, by the way, also by the United Kingdom to increase the influence of the United Kingdom via Europe all over in the world. With less money, but 6,000 civil servants more, it's difficult to explain how to finance it. Or there is a third point. Cameron is prepared to give up the British rebate in the agriculture policy. Then we can for sure discuss about a reduction of the budget.
Eurozone economic governance is the main topic of this summit. For some time, the member states have already been talking about better rules for countries that violate the budget rules. How do you feel about this sanction mechanism that is being discussed? The contentious issue seems to be the question, should these sanctions be automatic or not? Your Chancellor, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, proposes automatic sanctions. How do you feel in this debate?
I think there is an overwhelming majority in favor of the sanctions. I think the Council should describe what does it mean, automatic sanctions. If this is meaningful, I think there will be adopted automatic sanctions, but it is to describe concretely. It must be more concretized. And finally, the open question is, must that lead to a modification of the treaty or not? I'm against. I think that's not necessary. And therefore, my guess is tonight or tomorrow there will be a decision with a mandate for the Commission and perhaps Mr. Van Rompuy to concretize more what does it mean, automatic sanctions, and to check out in which legal framework that could be adopted.
How, in your view, would it be possible to basically achieve these sanctions without having to go through all the procedures for an official treaty change?
To check out if the instruments on the table, tabled by the Commission, in the opinion of Mr. Barroso, it's not necessary to modify the treaty, are sufficient. We have the task force proposals of Mr. Van Rompuy, who has not yet precisely expressed which part of his proposals must lead to a modification. So we have two positions, two contradictory positions. By, on one hand, the President of the European Council, on the other side, the President of the Commission. So I'm not a judge who has to make a judgment. My proposal and my advice to the heads of states and government here is to define a mandate for these two men, and the mandate should be check out if it is avoidable to have a changement of the treaty, because I think our citizens are expecting other things from us than to repeat the 10 years debate we have just passed about the treaty. And if it is possible to introduce such rules without a changement of the treaty, I prefer. If it is unavoidable from a legal point of view, they should precisely say which parts of the proposal must lead to a changement and in which kind they want to change the treaty. Or could you imagine that we go in the next 2, 3, 4 years about debates as we had in France, in the Netherlands, in Ireland, in the United Kingdom about the European Treaty? That wasted time. Therefore, I prefer once more, if the modification of the treaty can be avoided, but the rules introduced, I prefer such a solution.
Of course, a very complex debate. It's cooking here upstairs on the 50th floor, as it's known. Thanks very much, Mr. Martin Schulz. An hour ago we were here, we were actually talking about the fact that there was no family photo. The family photo was delayed a little bit because of that row with David Cameron. It has been taken already, and the leaders are now sitting down for dinner. We'll be back in the next few hours.